Good morning, everybody. How are you all? Hope you are fine and staying safe home. Welcome to class 10th English. This is Sir Manish Vijay welcomes you. So, how's the studies going on, dear? Answer yourself. I know I am not able to listen, but you can answer it to yourself at least. You know why I asked this question? To make you aware that you have to study. You have to complete your work on time. Exams are going to come very soon. That is just a alarm to you. And hope everything is completed. All the question answers of all the chapters and poetries completed. Nothing is left to be done. No pendencies. With no doubts. As you're asking no doubts in your doubt classes, so I am confident that I am teaching very good. You are facing no problems. In the previous class, we completed chapter number 9, Madam Rides the Bus. We discussed the question answers too. And hope you have completed all the answers which we discussed, the homework which was given to you. Everything is completed. Today, we are going to start a new chapter. That is chapter 10 of your book, First Flight, The Sermon at Benares. This has been taken from Betty Renshaw, Values and Voices, a college reader, which was published in 1975. So how old it is, you can understand. So before starting the explanation of this chapter, as you know, we discuss about the title, we discuss some questions of here and there, and then we come to our chapter. So before we read, there are some activities. Let's see what is there. Use a dictionary or ask for your teacher's help as you discuss the following questions in group. At your home, you can use dictionary. What is a sermon? First thing, what is a sermon? You can be thinking that sermon is a sort of teaching, a lecture given to the pupils, disciples of some saint. Is it different from a lecture or a talk? What do you think? Think yourself first. I'll give you all the answers. I'm here, but think yourself. Is it different? According to me, it is a different thing from a lecture or a talk, because sermon is a sort of teaching which teaches us something, like the truth, the real truth of the life, holy thing. That's a difference. It's on you to find yourself. Can this word always be used, also be used in a negative way or as a joke? Yes. Like my teacher's sermon about getting my work done on time. The students talk like that only. When something good is told by a teacher, they call that sermon. Updesh, oh, like a saint. Teachers always talk like saints as they want to give something good, teach some good teaching to the students. And students always comment like this at their backs, right? I am not saying all these students, but some are there. Second question, find out the meanings of the words and phrases given in the box. This is your homework. Do it yourself. Afflicted with, be composed, desolation, lamentation, procure, be subject. And I will also not tell the meanings of these words in the book. Promise to you. Do it yourself on your own. Yeah. This is nice question. Have you heard of the Sermon on the Mount? Who delivered it? Who do you think delivered a sermon at Benares? Who do you think? In this chapter, who delivered the sermon at Benares? Sermon, I told you, what is this? Benares is a name of place, a holy place in India. You know, the first sermon of Lord Buddha was at Benares. He delivered the sermon in Benares. You know Lord Buddha, Lord. Earlier, he was a prince. He was born in a royal palace. But he sacrificed all the princely leisures, luxuries, everything he sacrificed. When he saw the pain and suffering in the world, when he found that death is the ultimate truth. So, just in search of salvation, moksha ki talash mein. Moksha means salvation. In search of salvation, for seeking it, he just left his palace, gave up all his princely pleasures and leisures, luxuries, and went in a forest in search of peace and salvation. So this chapter is about the sermon given by Lord Buddha at the bank of river Ganga at Benares to a lady, to a woman. Why? What happened? Why he gave that sermon to that woman? We'll come to know gradually. You will also be enjoying this chapter. It's my promise. So take out your books. Take out page number 133. Chapter number 10. The sermon at Benares. Fine? I'm reading. I'll give you the hard words. Keep a pencil along with you and try to underline the important sentences. And we will discuss the question answers at the last. Nothing to worry about. Simple chapter. Gautam Buddha, 563 BC to 483 BC, means born in 563 BC and died in 483 BC. BC means before Christ. Began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautam. Gautam Buddha was born in 563 BC and died in this. He was born as a prince and the name was Siddhartha Gautam in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures. And 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. He was born in northern India to a princely palace named as a Siddhartha. At 12, when he was just 12 years old, he was sent for schooling. You know, earlier in India there were gurukuls and the prince was sent at the age of 12 for schooling in the Hindu sacred scripture to learn about Hindu scriptures, the holy scriptures like Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, like this. And 4 years later, he returned home. After 4 years of his learning, means at the age of 16, he returned to his home and married a princess. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. Afterwards, they had a very happy married life. They had a son too. And after 10 years, for 10 years they were married, like 16 to 26, about 25. Befitted, which was fit to him, which suited him. Royalty. You can write the meaning, befitted, which suit to him, which fitted to him. So he lived with his wife and a son for 10 years after the marriage, happily in a royal palace. At about the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world, while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. Right? Alms, in Hindi, bheek, some money, which was begged by a beggar. So at about the age of 25, when he was about 25, he went for hunting. And when he was going for hunting, when he was out for hunting, he saw the sufferings of the world by chance. Chanced upon means by chance. So he just encountered, shielded means encountered with the sufferings of the world, human beings. When he was out for hunting, by chance he saw on the way a sick man. So he came to know that sickness is also a part of life. Then afterwards, an aged man. So he thought that youth is never forever. Old age is bound to come. And with the old age, the sufferings, the sorrows of the old age also come. Then a funeral procession, the death, the procession for funeral was also there next. And finally, a monk begging for alms. And at the last, he found what? A monk who was begging there for some alms. Alms means bheek. These sights so moved him that he at once went out in the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. Enlightenment. The meaning is a state of high spiritual knowledge. A state of high spiritual knowledge. So, when he saw all those things, he really moved on by these sights. Because these sights were quite emotional, sentimental. And he just went out from his royal palace into the world in search of enlightenment. What is enlightenment? The state of high spiritual knowledge. He was just concerned about the sorrows he witnessed. He was not able to be relaxed after seeing all those sorrows in the world. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree. Wandered. Underline the word. Write the meaning. Roamed here and there. Wandered means roamed here and there. So he just roamed, he just wandered here and there for 7 years. And then finally, he just sat under a peepal tree. He found a peepal tree. He sat there. Where he vowed. Vowed means to take oath. Kasam khana, shapat lena. Underline the word vowed. Vowed means take oath. So after seeking for 7 years, after wandering here and there for 7 years, he finally found a peepal tree. He just sat down there. Where he vowed, where he took the oath, kasam khai, shapat li, to stay until enlightenment came. He just took a vow, took oath there, vowed there, that he would not move from that place under that peepal tree unless he got enlightenment. He got the knowledge. Okay? Spiritual knowledge. Enlightened after 7 days. He remained there under that peepal tree for 7 days. After 7 days, he was enlightened. He renamed the tree the Bodhi tree. As he got enlightenment there, that peepal tree under which he meditated, named as Bodhi tree by him. And the meaning of Bodhi tree means the tree of wisdom. And began to teach and to share his new understandings. And after getting enlightened, he started teaching the world and sharing the world his new learnings, his new understanding about the world. At that point, he became known as the Buddha. The same point, he came to be known as Buddha by everybody. What is the meaning of Buddha? Good word. The awakened or the enlightened. जो जाग गया, इसको भगवान ने रोशनी दी, high, who had high spiritual knowledge. That is Buddha. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares, most holy of the dipping places on the river Ganges. Ganges means Ganga. That sermon has been preserved and is given here. It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. Clear? So, the Buddha just preached his first sermon there at the city of Benares. First sermon of him was given at the city of Benares, which is the most holy place. Dipping place means bathing place, where Hindus go to bath, जहाँ पर नहाना, स्नान करना is considered holy, right? So it is the holy place. Dipping means bathing place of river Ganges. Ganges means Ganga. It is there, and till the date, that sermon has been preserved there and is given there. That sermon reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. Fine? Now what is that sermon? Let's see here. So let's read this sermon. What is there? Kisa Gautami had an only son, and he died. So this sermon is about a lady, given to a lady. A lady was there in the past, Kisa Gautami, who had only one son, and that son died, was no more. In her grief, she carried that dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine, and the people said, "She has lost her senses. The boy is dead." She was in extreme grief, and because of grief, she was not able to think anything, she was not able to understand anything. She carried that dead body of her child to all her neighbors, and she was asking for some medicine to bring him to life. But is it possible? Is it possible to bring a dead person to life? Wherever he used to go, everybody claimed that she had lost her senses. The boy was dead. At length, Kisa Gautami met a man who replied to her request, "I cannot give thee medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can." Thee, you, old language. Thy, your. So after seeking a lot, roaming here and there, at length, after a long time, she met a man who replied to her that he could not give her medicine for her child, but he could tell her about a physician, about a doctor who could give her medicine for her child. Was it possible? Who was that doctor? And the girl said, "Pray tell me, sir, who is it?" And the man replied, "Go to Sakyamuni, the Buddha." Girl really was very glad. She wanted to know. She requested him to tell the name of that person, that doctor, that physician. He told her, that is Sakyamuni Buddha. Kisa Gautami repaired to Buddha and cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. Kisa Gautami, she just went to Lord Buddha and cried and started crying that, hey God, oh Lord and Master. She just requested her, begged in front of her, crying in front of her, asking for the medicine which could cure her boy, her child. The Buddha answered. Buddha did not deny that he would not give. He just answered, I want a handful of mustard seed. And when the girl, in her joy, promised to procure it, the Buddha added, the mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend. Buddha answered in his own way that he wanted a handful of mustard seed. The girl became very happy. She promised that she would procure, she would get that a handful of mustard seed easily. But the Buddha was not over yet. He added further that those mustard seed must have been taken from that house where nobody has lost a child, a husband, parent, or a friend. From that house he wanted the mustard seed. Now, my dear friends, what do you say? Was it possible to find such a house where nobody has lost any child, any parent, any friend, any husband? Still, even today, is it possible? I don't think there would be any house. None of the house. In each and every house, somebody has died. Not somebody. Many people have died since your existence in this world. Okay, many people. Since your ancestors, a lot, many, thousands. Isn't it? Millions. Poor Kisa Gautami. She could not understand what Lord Buddha wanted to say. She was in grief, an extreme grief, in love of her child. She wanted her child to be back anyhow. So she went from house to house, and the people pitied her. They took pity on her. Pitied her means daya dikhana. Took pity on her. They took pity on her and said, here is a mustard seed, take it. Wherever she visited, every house gave her mustard seed. It was not a big task. But after taking those mustard seeds, when she asked, did a son or a daughter, a father or mother die in your family? Whenever she asked about a father or mother, anybody died in her family, they answered her, alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Whenever she asked about any deaths, each house used to answer, the living are few. A little, very small number of people are living, and dead are many. Just think about your ancestors, everybody. Think about your forefathers, ancestors. Many of died, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents, your neighbors, uncle, aunt, so many people. You wouldn't even know the names of those people. Wouldn't have any knowledge about them because we have never seen. So the number of dead people is uncountable. What about the living people? 5 members, 6 members. So, in compared to those people who died, the number is very less. Only few are alive, many are dead. Understood what was meant by the people? Right? They answered her, do not remind us of our deepest grief. And they asked that lady not to remind them their deepest, because time is the biggest healer. Time heals everything. Time is the biggest healer. It heals every time. So many people were died. Many people have lost their family members, relatives, but nobody could live in pain forever. It is quite impossible. Time makes you forget everything. As it heals everything, it soothes everything, isn't it? So they just asked her not to make them remind anything. And there was no house, but some beloved one had died in it. So no house was there. In every house, one or many, I could not say one, many beloved one had died in there. So she got to learn something very important indirectly, in a practical way. The Lord Buddha just gave her a practical knowledge, not theoretical. Kisa Gautami became weary and hopeless. Weary, underline the word, write the meaning. Exhausted, tired. Hopeless, despair. Now she was extremely tired and hopeless, and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city. Just sat down at the side of the way, watching the light of the city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. In the evening, they flickered up, they were lit, and afterwards, again at the night, they were extinguished. Bujh gayi. Just like a life. A birth is taken, and afterward, the death is there, darkness is there. Simply as a light, it flickered for a while, and now they extinguished. At last, the darkness of the night reigned everywhere. Death is the ultimate truth, and darkness is the ultimate truth. After that day, after those lights, darkness reigned, it ruled. Reign means ruled everywhere, and she considered the fate of man, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. And she understood, she considered, she got to know the fortune, the luck, the destiny of man, that their lives flickered up for a while, and afterwards it also extinguishes. They also die. Death. And she thought to herself afterwards, how selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all. She just thought herself that she was quite selfish. Death was common to all. There is nobody in the world who had never lost his or her relatives. Yet, in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality, who has surrendered all selfishness. Then she understood one thing, that in that valley of desolation, that area which filled her with sorrow and pain, in that sorrow and pain also, there was a path. There is a path that leads us to immortality. We can become immortal. There is a path of being immortal. What is that? Who has surrendered all selfishness. A person who becomes selfless, who surrenders all this selfishness, become immortal. And that is the truth of life. That is the sermon at Benares. So some part is left. With this, I just want you to read the chapter, whatever is taught to you. I want to read it completely. In the next class, we are going to complete this chapter with the question answers discussed. Am I clear? Yes.